it's Dr. Jen for Bony, better known as DocJenFit, and I want to go over that pinching sensation that a lot of people complain about when they go into a squat. And I want to give you 3 mobility exercises that can really help to reduce that pinching sensation. Now, keep in mind, I'm going to say it, you have to do these consistently to really see the maximum change. If you're just doing them once and then you go back to your squat and you're like, meh, I don't know if it really worked. Well, you got to try it more than once. That's the thing with mobility. It's going to take time to actually open up those restrictions so that your body can start to move in a different way. Plus, I'm going to follow this up with another video to really show you a good tip and tool that you can use to take you into your squat so that you maybe feel something a little different. I've also posted a video before on finding a good squat stance. So go check out that video because it's really going to help you along with these mobility exercises, okay? And there's only 3, so not too many. But we're going to come down to the ground. Now, one of my first ones that I love to start people with is just that hip 90-90. Now, I talk about this one a lot. And if your hips are really restricted, like you know that it's hard to sit in a cross-legged position or it just doesn't feel so good, you know that you're tight just around your hips in general, I'm going to have you sit on a pillow, okay? Instead of just going into the 90-90, you can even stack a couple pillows if the one pillow just kind of sinks down to the ground and doesn't really elevate you. So either a thicker pillow or multiple pillows or maybe even some blankets and towels just so that we can get your hips a little bit more elevated than the knees, okay? Now, in this position, you want to be like your knees are at 90 degrees and they're going to be open. And then we shift to one side. So I'll show you both sides. Now, what you want to be in this 90 position, I've shown this before in other videos, but if you haven't seen, you just want to make sure that you have 90 degrees in your front leg, 90 degrees between the legs, and 90 degrees in that back leg, okay? So it's all like perfect angles here, okay? Now, what you don't want to just relax into the position, I actually want you to be a little bit more active. So when we're thinking about stretching into the front hip, you're actually going to think of lifting that belly button up and focusing on this knee kind of pushing back into your bum. So it's almost like your hips are rotating up and forward. Your belly button is lifting. That knee is pushing back. And the moment you feel a stretch, which I'm super sore on my bum right now, so I don't need to go very far. I already feel a stretch. But it's not about going down. I feel no stretch if I just round down here because I'm doing nothing into my hips and pelvis. It's really about rotating from that hip, pushing this knee back, back, back. And the moment you feel a stretch, just kind of breathe here. Try to go 5 to 10 really slow breaths. You can make it a little bit more active by pushing this leg a little bit down into the ground as you're stretching and going into it. And then we're going to sit toward that back leg by just kind of rotating here. And the moment you should feel the stretch around here. If you're feeling it a lot into your knee, you can always like adjust. Maybe you need to pull it in a little bit at first. That's okay. Okay. We want to feel it into the hip. Okay. So I'm going to put my leg back out and then pull it into my hip. Again, you could be elevated. So you could be on some pillows if you need to. You can use your arms for support. And we want to just start to drop this hip back and down. Okay, almost like you're going to sit onto the floor. Again, 5 to 10 slow breaths here. You can make it a little bit more active. Push that leg into the ground as you're coming down. That might also start to ease pain or sensations that you might be feeling at the hip or knee. And then we'll try the other side. So coming into the other side. And again, good angles here, 90, 90, 90. Lift that belly button. Rotate that hip up. So almost like you're taking that tailbone, sticking it out, and that knee's driving straight back. And we're going to hold here. So breathing, holding 5 to 10 breaths, and then sitting back, and then seeing how you could drop that hip. So rotating that hip back, 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 and trying to drive and sit here. And then just starting to rotate back and forth. So maybe you're only doing a few breaths in each one, and then open and rotate. Maybe you don't use hands anymore, okay? But you just want to make sure you're staying nice and tall in that spine. You're not rounding through that spine. And you're just going to go back and forth at least 3 times on each side. You can hold it a little bit longer than what I'm showing. I just want to show you the position and what you're doing, okay? And I'm telling you, if you come back to that just a few minutes every day, you're gonna start to make a big difference in your hips to create space for those bones to move in that hip socket so you can squat without getting that pinching. So that one's huge. The other huge one is that a lot of people get quad tightness, okay? And so those quads end up taking over and you end up kind of pinching into that hip as you're going into that squat, and that's where that pinching can come from. So rather than just stretching those hip flexors, focus on your quads first. So one good way to do that, you can either take a pillow or just roll up a mat and kind of have your knee on something supportive. You can always have something around you as well that helps to kind of increase that stability. So this isn't about a balance exercise, okay? And then we're gonna take that pelvis, we're gonna tuck it under. Okay, now I will see, okay, can I reach for my leg? And without trying to force it in, I'm just going to slightly tuck my tailbone under. Okay, if it is too hard to reach into that back foot, I want you to put your foot on like a bench, a chair, a couch, something that you don't have to hold the foot. So you'll put the foot on there first, and then you'll work your way into adjusting the pelvis from there. If you tuck the tailbone and you're getting pain in the knee, back off just a little bit, okay? But the main goal here is that you're just not hanging out with your hips forward and pulling. That's not the intention. The intention here is that you only pull as much as you can, keeping that tailbone tucked under as much as tolerable for you. Now, the goal here, if you really want to make sustainable change and decrease that tension and pressure in those quads, you want to hold for at least a minute, at most 2 minutes, every day in both legs, okay? So not just a 30-second stretch here, not just hanging out and being like, okay, feel it, next leg, but actually you're focusing on the breath, long, slow exhales, focusing on that pelvis, trying to see, okay, can I improve it over time? Is my heel getting closer over time by keeping that tailbone tucked under? Again, don't want this, okay? Really take that tailbone, tuck it under, pull that hip bone up towards your rib cage. That is a quad stretch, and that's where we want to really try to work into. Okay, the last one that I'm going to show you here is just quadruped rocks. So we're actually going to be here on all fours. Now we opened up the hips, we get a little stretch into the quads. Now keep those knees just slightly open, wider than your feet. Okay, that would be like a squat position. I'm going to push my shoulder blades away from my spine, kind of pushing my chest away from the floor. So keep that big push. Push into your fingertips, push that chest away from the floor. Now with the toes tucked under, I'm just going to hover my knees. I'm going to try not to move my hips at all. And as I'm here, I'm going to breathe out and rock my hips just slightly back. No movement in the spine. Keep that push. Breathe out. This one is great to either record yourself or do in front of a mirror as well, because what you don't want to see is rounding into that back, okay? We're not trying to round. You will feel quad tension, you will feel shoulders working, that's okay. We're just changing the process of how you squat. So press against the floor, sternum straight, parallel, pushing away, and the knees just barely hover, and then try not to move the pelvis, just move the hips. Breathe out. Whew. That mobility work is intense, but remember, mobility isn't just passive stretching. It's actively changing the positions of our body so that we can get into a deeper position with less pain. So let me know what you feel below. How did those exercises feel? Did you try a squat again? Did it already change? Again, that's not the goal, right? This is to keep up with you. Take these exercises, especially if you've never implemented them in, and just try it either before a workout, after a workout. When can I add this into my day that it's not going to take too much time and I can just plop it in, sprinkle it in throughout the week and maintain that consistency, and then see, is the squat changing? If you love what you're learning, don't forget there's so much more that I have in store. So hit that subscribe button, check out the other videos so that you don't miss anything and you continue to learn and feel amazing within your body.